Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning, and I'm so glad that you've joined us this morning. A little bit later on in the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to learn all about this weekend's wine glass race series. It's not just the marathon anymore. It's a whole series, so we'll hear a little bit more about that, what you need to know, even if you're not in the race. Also, we've got just a lot to talk about. We're going to start with viewer comments. These came in after yesterday's program. You know, Frank, I never really understood why Russia attacked Ukraine. But as I listened to President Zelensky, I got the feeling that Russia attacked because Ukraine wanted to move into the European Union. What do you think? I think there's a lot of moving pieces there. There was that aspect to it, but there's also the idea that Putin wants to return back to the days of the Soviet Union and gain some of that land back was one of the theories at the time. So good point that has come up in the past. Thank you. Comment from a viewer. Did you know why NYC is referred to as the Big Apple? It was because a sports writer heard the phrase from stable hands due to the amount of money offered to the winner of horse races. Thank you. I did not know that. But that makes sense, I guess. And we'll be talking about the mayoral race there, so how appropriate. Mark wrote in yesterday right towards the end of the program, and I just missed it, saying, going to the Hesselson's tent sale to get some bargains. Have a great day. Well, thanks, Mark. I went yesterday as well. Great crowd. Got some great deals. You'll be seeing some new pullovers. But I do appreciate those that have sent in about the Hesselson's tent sale, which is going on now. And it was nice to see everybody there, Tom and all the guys, and just take it all in. There is a lot that they have to offer during the tent sale. So I'd love to know how it went, Mark. I'd love to know from anybody that went or is going to the Hesselson's sale, how they did. There's no way you're not finding a bargain. It's very simple. All right. Oh, here we go. Good morning, Frank from Florida. Virtual wave. Well, there you go. Well, thank you. There, kicking off the program with a bang. All right. We've got a lot to talk about. Some updates. We are going to talk, of course, about the government shutdown, some of the rhetoric surrounding the government shutdown. Boy, it seems to me that it is a tough spot right now for the Democrats to sell the fact that they're doing this for some righteous reason. They're trying, and the media is trying to help them. But at the end of the day, Republicans putting forth a clean spending bill makes it kind of difficult to say, well, we demand $1 trillion extra just to keep the government open until November, I think it's 21st. Just then, November 21st. So it's not as if they're saying, well, till the end of the year even, or the new budget. They're basically asking Republicans to reverse everything that they got in the big, beautiful bill that they just recently passed. That's a tough sell. But we're going to talk about that in depth. First, the breaking story coming out early this morning, late last night. A massive fire has erupted at a Chevron oil refinery outside of Los Angeles, forcing residents to shelter in place following the suspected explosion. Californians said they felt the blast come from Chevron's refinery, and I'm going to try this, El Segundo, California, at around 9:30 p.m. Mark Rogers said, I thought we got nuked or something, saying his adult soccer league match was canceled moments later because of the heavy smoke coming from the blaze roughly 6 miles away. Footage and images posted on social media captured giant balls of flame erupting in the Southern California night sky. There was 300-foot flames, Kevin Moore told the outlet. I didn't know that, meaning the outlet being the New York Post. I didn't know if a plane crashed or there was an earthquake or both. Officers and firefighters responded to the Chevron refinery after receiving multiple reports of an explosion. Manhattan Beach fire officials ordered a shelter in place for 3 hours after the blaze broke out, urging residents to close their windows and bring all people and pets indoors. Los Angeles County Supervisor Holly Mitchell said it's been contained and there is no cause for alarm for El Segundo or the surrounding areas. So that is a quick breaking story from late yesterday, early this morning. Also, and these all kind of tie in together. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's so many different updates. I want to get your opinion on so many of them. But first, federal immigration officials said their Portland, Oregon facilities have come under a nightly attack with little help from local police because of political directives from city leaders. In an interview with Fox News, Bill Mulligan, Kamala Wamsley, the director of Portland's ICE office, said the facility has faced violence for more than 100 consecutive nights, with Portland police largely absent under guidance from the mayor and city council. Wamsley said, I can't figure out what's happening at the FDA. I'm totally baffled by it. It's frustrating for us to watch people be attacked on the street and know that we don't have the authority to be able to really step in unless there's some nexus to federal law. She said nightly protests have escalated beyond chants and signs, with bottle rockets striking the ICE building, rocks shattering windows, lasers targeting officers' eyes, and barricades blocking vehicles. Wamsley said protesters have followed ICE staff members home and doxed at least 6 employees. She explained later towards the evening and around dark, there are a lot of folks that come up dressed in black. They are here to wreak havoc. They'll block our cars, throw paint, damage property, and even try to follow our folks home. She warned that when crowds swell quickly, the violence becomes more dangerous. We've seen it before. The folks here can go from a crowd of 50 to a crowd of 1,000 in 30 minutes. Sometimes we only have 20 officers here. We would not be able to defend the building with that show of force. They say the Portland Police Department has been slow to respond and sometimes does not even respond at all because of city policy. She explained that assaults have occurred outside and across the street from the building, but police have either taken too long to arrive or not shown up at all. Quote, this is not the stance they would take 6 blocks from here, but it's a stance that they take with us because of the guidance from the mayor and the city council. So yes, that's a great point. If that was happening at some grocery store a mile away, police quick to respond. But because the mayor and city leaders are saying, don't help ICE, don't be seen with ICE. And we've talked about this in the past. Look at and there really was no criticism, but we talked about it with Sheriff Allard, where there's a very small group, about 2 people, that were very outraged that the sheriff's office was working with ICE for the protection of ICE and for the protection of the sheriff's office. This, of course, at a much heightened stance, but where you have the political guidance coming from Portland's mayor and Portland's various leaders, city council, saying, do not work with ICE. So even though there's assaults going on, there's attacks, there's violence in general, destruction of property, because it's at the ICE facility, the local police are being told to stand down. Wamsley said the people that work here are here to serve the American public, meaning ICE. They're here to enforce the same immigration laws we've had in place since the 1950s. Nothing has changed in that regard. We come to work every day and we do our job the way we have been doing it, and we'll continue to do that. Todd Ringnell, Assistant Special Agent for Homeland Security Investigations, said federal agencies are targeting Antifa-linked groups they blame for organizing much of the unrest. They're not just facing HSI, they're facing the FBI, ATF, DEA, IRS, all of these agencies. That's a force to be reckoned with. And we've talked about the much-needed focus on Antifa. Tying in with immigration and tying in with this announcement where we know that yesterday we had that drug cartel quote-unquote alleged leader saying that it's the immigration laws have really hampered their business, their drug trade, their trafficking because of, again, Trump's border policies. And now we hear that Trump is determined, because remember, this is coming from the New York Times, so it's going to be a lot biased. Trump determined the U.S. is now in a war with drug cartels, and he told Congress. A notice calls the people the U.S. military recently killed on suspicion of drug smuggling in the Caribbean Sea unlawful combatants. He has decided, the president, that the United States is engaged in a formal armed conflict with drug cartels. His team has labeled terrorist organizations, and the suspected smugglers for such group are unlawful combatants. And this is again, anonymous, but a confidential notice to Congress this week. The notice was sent to several congressional committees and obtained by the New York Times. It adds new detail to the administration's thinly articulated legal rationale for why 3 U.S. military strikes the president ordered on boats in the Caribbean. last month. Killing all 17 people aboard should be seen as lawful rather than murder. So again, we've talked about crime in the streets just like this with in Portland that we were talking about earlier. It's very interesting that those on the left and those in the media have found themselves telling you that they would rather stand, arguably, with the smugglers than they would ending the smuggling, right? Because think of that line. Killing all 17 people aboard, how that would be seen as lawful rather than murder. So now essentially accusing the president of murdering drug smugglers in the Caribbean Sea. This by Charlie Savage and Eric Schmidt from, again, the New York Times. Mr. Trump's move to formally deem his campaign against drug cartels as an act of armed conflict means he is cementing his claim to extraordinary wartime powers. That's according to legal specialists. In an armed conflict as defined by international law, a country can lawfully kill enemy fighters even when they pose no threat, detain them immediately without trials, and prosecute them in military court. Jeffrey Korn, of course, a retired judge, advocate, general lawyer who was formerly the Army's senior advisor for law of war issues, said drug cartels were not engaged in hostilities, the standard for which there is an armed conflict for legal purposes, against the United States because selling a dangerous product is different from an armed attack. And how is it, just out of curiosity, I'll read one comment here from the White House in just a second, but when you have the deadliness of fentanyl, is it time to perhaps, and this is a question I posed to you, is it time to perhaps look to see how different that is from an armed attack? How different is it from shooting someone or giving them and selling them a drug that will ultimately do the same damage and kill? Anna Kelly, a White House spokeswoman, said in an email that the president acted in line with the law of armed conflict to protect our country from those trying to bring deadly poison to our shores, and he is delivering on his promise to take on the cartels and eliminate these national security threats for murdering more Americans. So that is just a quick update. When we come back, an update on, and you may not recognize the name offhand, but Ian Andre Roberts. He is the superintendent in Iowa that was arrested by ICE because he was not here legally. And we received a lot of criticism from viewers writing in saying how, with all the red tape and the different hoops you have to jump through just to get to prove that you're here legally to work for, I think there's someone that suggested Amazon, things like that, how this person had become a superintendent at numerous school districts without any real documentation. We're going to talk about that just quickly because I have probably 4 or 5 updates before we get to Hegseth's meeting again and we talk about the government shutdown. So stay with us. We're just getting started here on the Friday morning edition of Frankly Speaking.
This isn't your father's library. Create with the 3D printer. Release your inner audio engineer or sewing machine riddles, all with your library card. Go to getyourlibrarycard.com today.
This is a collector consumer alert. Hi, my name is Jared Johnson with SueTheCollector.com. Did you know that repossessions are on the rise in America? If your car, truck, or motorcycle has been repossessed by an agent that broke a lock, assaulted you, or trespassed on your private property, you have rights. Call us for a free case review at 1-877-BAD-REPO. You pay nothing unless we win money for you. Call me now.
Drive-in event at Chilson Wilcox Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Buy a new in-stock 2025 Ram 1500 Bighorn and save over $10,000. Or, attention business owners, buy a new Ram 2500 Tradesman Crew Cab and save over $11,000. Tailgate season is back. Hurry, these offers won't last. Drive into fall event. Don't miss out on these incredible offers. Chilson Wilcox Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Selling cars a different way, the right way.
Tired of high price delivery? The Liquor Factory is now offering free delivery. You heard right, free delivery to Oreen, Gang Mills, Painted Post, and Riverside. Corning, you're in luck too. Free delivery with a $25 minimum order. Call store for details. Also, don't forget their 15% case wine discount. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram for weekly specials and tastings. The Liquor Factory, 285 South Hamilton Street, Gang Mills. Or call 607-937-WINE. That's 607-937-9463. The Liquor Factory, raising spirits, delivering fun in a bottle.
Sundays. The best 2 hours of NFL coverage, starting with Fox NFL Kickoff at 11.
This is great TV.
It is caught! Then at noon, take it to the next level on Fox NFL Sunday.
This kid has it all.
Touchdown! America's #1 pregame show. The best NFL pregame shows are back.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio here on Market Street in Corning. Speaking of the Hesselson studio, the tent sale was great. So let me know how it all went, everybody, if you've been already. Let's give you an update. Oh, a couple of viewer comments, quick. We've got a Climate Fact Friday with Bob. We'll get to that a little bit later on. Thank you, Bob, as always. Appreciate that. Comment from a viewer. The government shutdown makes Trump king with no court gestures to stop the MAGA agenda. Thank you very much. We're going to talk about the shutdown here in just a moment. So this is what we've got as an update. An Iowa congresswoman called for radical accountability for the Des Moines public school chairs whose former superintendent is entangled in an immigration scandal. Jackie Norris is out there calling for radical empathy for an illegal con artist. Representative Ashley Hinson, Republican from Iowa, said, and I'm calling for radical accountability for all these taxpayers and the parents that he fleeced in the process. Ian Andre Roberts resigned as superintendent after ICE arrested him September 26th on accusations he was living in the U.S. illegally and had a prior weapons offense. ICE said agents found a gun, a hunting knife, and $3,000 in cash in the vehicle. Roberts entered the U.S. from Guyana in 1999 and was issued a formal removal order in 2024. Yet somehow he was still awarded the job as superintendent in this Iowa school district. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons told Fox News that Roberts' record stretches back even further. He was arrested in 1994 on charges of vehicle theft and drug trafficking before re-entering the U.S. in 1999. Is there not a better vetting system? My goodness. How does this person become superintendent? Is it because he's kind of a flashy dresser? Some people were saying. As the Justice Department investigates the Iowa School District's potential illegal hiring practices, Hinson blamed Roberts' hiring on the school board's complete and utter incompetency. The Des Moines School District is a laughingstock right now, and it shouldn't be. We should be educating students. Hinson argued that her political opponent, because she's in a race with Norris, Jackie Norris, they're running for Senate, taking Joni Ernst's old seat as she's retiring. Hinson argued that her political opponent does not have an ounce of credibility left. She should resign from the school board and step out of the race for the U.S. Senate. She's on the school board. Yikes. It's very clear she can't even run the bare minimum of hiring standards at the Des Moines public schools. Hinson went on to insist that the former superintendent's hiring process was done behind closed doors. I think there are a lot more questions than answers at this point about their hiring practices and what they're doing. Now, meanwhile, for her part, Norris called the school board a victim of deception. The Des Moines School Board is also a victim of deception by Dr. Roberts, one of a growing list that includes our students and teachers, our parents and community, our elected officials, and Iowa's Board of Education examiners and others. Oh, that's a way to blame, to pass along the blame as you hired someone here illegally with that kind of criminal record. There's even more to it. The school district superintendent lied about attending MIT and was the subject of 2 sexual discrimination lawsuits, according to the New York Post. Snappy dresser, that's the term that they used at the Post. Ian Andre Roberts, who's 51, was fired after it emerged he was working illegally and had been avoiding a deportation order. A former colleague said he ruined our district for 3 years. He was very smooth But the overarching feeling you got from him was smoke and mirrors, mystique. He is also rumored to have been caught, we'll just say, with a female coworker on school property at his previous role as superintendent in rural Pennsylvania, a post that he held there in 2020 to 2023. Former colleagues claimed to the New York Post that Roberts was a sketchy figure and a pathological liar. They said they felt he was hired because of his diversity, equity, and inclusion bona fides, and claimed once on the job he did little work. He was a player. He liked the women, a source who knew Roberts said. Another source expressed concern to the school board in Pennsylvania. Roberts might not be a legal resident based on casual comments he has made, but their concern was ignored, they said. Wow. So quite a background there. And like this viewer says, DEI is why the superintendent was hired and why so many illegals have commercial driver's licenses. People were told to overlook things the last 4 years for equity. Yeah, and that's what we learned during the week, that New York State was issuing commercial driver's licenses to literally people where it said on the ID, no name given. And yet, you look at what law-abiding citizens have to go through to get certain identification, to get apply for even a job as superintendent. It is unbelievable. But I'm not going to go through his whole history. If you want to find it out yourself, there is a great piece of the New York Post called Illegal Migrant School Chiefs Sordid Past Revealed. So there you go. All right, that was just an update because I know we've talked about that quite a bit. 3 more updates. Then we're going to talk about Pete Hegseth's speech. We're going to talk about the government shutdown. Here we are, day 3 of the shutdown. We'll tell you what some of the talking heads had to say. We also have just some kind of catch-all here. Sadly, and I don't know how much we'll get a chance to talk about it, but the kind of the spate of left-wing violence and this kind of fear and the rhetoric that the fear that conservatives have and the rhetoric that's being pushed by the media, by politicians. We'll be talking about that as well. Keep your comments, keep your waves coming in. Thanks for joining us on this Friday morning edition of Frankly Speaking. We're going to learn a little bit more about the Wine Glass Marathon in the 7 o'clock hour. Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm so excited about this. I'm going to be returning to the airwaves of our good friends at WLEA. I'm going to be on the Pulse with Mayor John Buckley. He has me on occasion, and I always appreciate it. It's always a lot of fun. So for our Hornell viewers, make sure you tune in to WLEA this Saturday or Sunday or both at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Make sure that you hear the whole thing. We have great conversations, the mayor and myself. So I really look forward to it, and I really look forward to the opportunity that the mayor gives me to be on the Pulse on WLEA again this Saturday and Sunday at 1 o'clock. We got some other announcements we'll be getting to this morning. It's going to be a busy weekend. It's going to be a busy upcoming next week as well. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
More cars. Lower prices. Simmons Rockwell. Make car buying simple when you drive your deal at a Simmons Rockwell location near you, where you'll always find more cars at lower prices.
Want to read about ancient wonders? Go to your local library today. But this isn't your father's library. It's the home of creativity. Release your inner audio engineer or face off a dragon in the D&D club. Make your clothing ideas come together with our sewing machine rentals. Create with the 3D printer or come to the library event nights to chat with those within your community. All with your library card. Go to getyourlibrarycard.com today.
At Quill, what matters most is that our customers, our communities, and our heroes are taken care of. We start by providing American-made gasoline, which means you can buy local, keeping America and your communities strong. We also support vital charities every year and hold Operation Give Thanks each November to help provide a better future for our veterans and their families. We're proud to support the communities we live and work in, and we're doing our best every day to make our towns a better place. Quick though, driving America.
Hot tubs, hot tubs. In addition to Hesselsen's annual tent sale this week, Hesselsen's will be slashing thousands of dollars off hundreds of hot tubs and swim spas. Hesselsen's needs to liquidate over $500,000 of inventory at unheard of, unbelievable prices. But for 4 days only, Thursday through Sunday. And Hesselsen's will be offering 0% interest-free financing options for up to 5 full years. Plus, free cover, free chemicals, free steps, and free Bluetooth music. Don't miss this opportunity to start making every day better during Hesselsen's hot tub sale this Thursday through Sunday. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
To get clean!
Yes, but that liquid detergent leaves you covered in harsh chemical residue. Not Earth Breeze. Just one sheet gives you a powerful clean.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. All right, let's go through some quick ones here. Cracker Barrel. Remember when we had Cracker Barrel updates nearly every day on this program? Let's slow down a little bit. Well, Cracker Barrel is ending its partnership with Profit. Profit is the consulting firm behind its failed rebrand. Now, I'd love to know the final cost. Of course, they stopped redesigning their restaurants, but there's already a cost there. You figure all the things that already put logos on and the signs and these type of expenses. And not to mention, I'm sure how much they paid this Profit, an ironic name, for consulting to bring them the failed rebrand. The chain faced intense backlash, as you know, under the unveiling of a new logo and redesigned stores. Cracker Barrel restaurants, long known for their Americana decor, were recast in a style critics called drab and soulless. And of course, when they took out the elderly man leaning on a barrel from the logo, all heck broke loose. A March press release said Profit was hired to redesign Cracker Barrel restaurants and lead a new brand marketing campaign. This, I'm guessing, is going to hurt the futures of Profit because that was, by all measure, a disastrous rollout. At the time, the company said, quote, in collaboration with Cracker Barrel, they are focused on shaping a new brand vision that will enhance market share while preserving the company's unique heritage. This new strategy will inform brand communication, restaurant redesign, brand marketing campaigns, and a redefined employee value proposition. Separately, Profit CEO Michael Dunn pledged $4 million back in 2020 for the firm's DEI initiatives, saying the company would bring in black team members across every level of the firm, hire a DEI-specific recruiter, and provide $4 million in pro bono work to social justice organizations. Yikes. Now, Fox News Digital found no evidence that Profit's DEI commitments were connected to Cracker Barrel's rebranding. So again, we don't need to go through the whole history, but the logo change sparked backlash that wiped over $140 million off the chain's market value at the height of the crisis. Shares are down over 7% year to date. Of course, we know they then waffled. They changed their opinion. They said, no, we're going back to it, but had the damage already been done? So there you are. I always think consulting firms are interesting because they're very expensive and very rarely helpful, and in that case, disastrous for the brand. All right, your thoughts on this. This is a big one. I probably should have kicked off the program with this. Before we talk about government shutdown, before we talk about PHEXA, before we talk about the media, we've talked about tariffs, and there's been kind of a split, not really a split reaction on this, but a bit of a split reaction. Musk had talked about the money they saved, maybe bringing Doge cuts, giving checks to the American taxpayer. Then we started hearing about it when it came to tariffs, that perhaps the money we make in tariffs, some of it should go back to taxpayers. Now, many people in this audience at the time said, no, this is to pay down the debt. Keep your check. Well, now we learn that President Trump said he is weighing the idea of giving Americans up to $2,000 in rebates derived from the revenues his tariff agenda has generated. Trump's proposal to share some of the hundreds of billions of dollars the federal government has collected since he slapped foreign nations with steep levies in April comes as the Supreme Court is slated to hear arguments in a case next month that will decide whether the president has the power to impose sweeping global tariffs. Trump said of the tariffs, they're just starting to kick in, but ultimately your tariffs are going to be over $1 trillion a year. Number one, we're paying down the debt because people have allowed the debt to go crazy. Then he argued that the $37 trillion national debt is actually very little, relatively speaking, because the government is now taking in unprecedented sums of money from tariffs. With that being said, we'll pay back debt, but we also might make a distribution to the people. He described his plan, which he floated before, as a dividend to the people of America. We're thinking maybe $1,000 to $2,000. It would be great. And he just... it would require federal government, and congressional approval. The federal government has raked in about $214.9 billion in revenues from tariffs this year. The $31.3 billion in tariff revenue collected in September, however, was $73 million less than the August record. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has repeatedly said that he expects the U.S. to generate at least $300 billion in tariff revenue by the end of the year. So your thoughts? Now, this is at a time when we've had numerous discussions, and these are completely different and unrelated things. But we've been hypercritical of Governor Hochul's check, inflation rebate check, that is going to be $200 for a single person, $400 for a family. We've kind of mocked and ridiculed it because of her speech, making it sound like it's life-changing. What are your thoughts about, though, if you got $2,000? And it is based on tariffs, so a dividend, more of a dividend scenario, where Hochul's is we're paying for it to come back to us. Oh, yeah, and by the way, we have to put it on our taxes as well, like we learned yesterday. So just your thoughts, just like to hear your opinions this morning. All right, here's another one. This seems to happen quite frequently on this program, but you're in the exact right place because you do not have to worry about this. This coming from Gallup. They're saying that trust in the media is at a new low of 28% in the United States. I say you don't have to worry about it because you watch Frankly Speaking. You can trust it. You know that. Republicans' confidence in mass media to report news fully, accurately, and fairly is now at just 8%. And the unfortunate part is it's the mainstream media that has created essentially this legacy for themselves, created the lack of confidence. Because, again, you can point to a million examples. I've got examples of how they're covering and lying about the government shutdown. I brought even when you talk about whatever range, all the way up to the national news, to local news, you can hear certain outlets trying to twist it. I heard one, as I keep mentioning the other day, saying, well, Republicans control the majority in the House and the Senate, and they have the White House. So the government shutdown, trying to get you to think, if you're not paying attention, if you are not proficient and haven't been doing your research, to think that it's all Republicans' fault when we know, because we're students and we try to learn, that you need 60% because of the filibuster in the Senate. Or 60 votes, in the filibuster because of the filibuster in the Senate. And, of course, the media doesn't mention that part, trying to just convince the American people that it's all Republicans' fault. Or you have 4 years of zero coverage of the president and his mental decline, meaning Joe Biden. And now I even have a piece here today, which is going to actually tie in with another story, but I can jump right to it. After 4 years of not talking about the president's mental health. As a matter of fact, if someone did talk about the president's mental health, meaning a guest or something like that, or a politician, they criticized them, called them a conspiracy theory, attacked them for suggesting that the president had what proved to be correct, mental health issues. So that was 4 years of that. And now they're lecturing us about every little thing Trump does. And I know I keep going back and saying it. Imagine having President Trump's schedule, how they can even keep up with that. And they're suggesting there's something wrong there. It's, again, they've lost all credibility. And Jake Tapper and others have tried to save face now, but just showing who they really were, that they didn't want to report on it. Chuck Todd saying, I knew about this a while ago because someone told me he was bad. Why didn't you report on it then? The damage, and that was after the debate. Or you had Joe Scarborough saying, I never saw it in person, his mental decline, but you couldn't see the videos. Are we not to trust the videos? Are we not to trust other reporting? So just to show you, when we see a low in media, on Anderson Cooper, they interviewed Representative Madeline Dean. Listen to what she said. And this is more on the rhetoric side, but this is who the outlet chooses. Now, keep in mind, when outlets attack Republicans, this goes with no pushback. Host John Berman said, "You just called the president unwell again. What do you mean by that?" Dean said, "Well, he's aging. Aren't we all? I think we can very much notice that he's a different man than he was in his first term. He's slower. He's a little bit more lethargic. But much more important to me is that he is saying before the world that meeting with the generals, number one, allowing the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, to call in more than 800 military leaders from around the globe was an extraordinarily dangerous, reckless, vain thing to do on both their parts. Pulling them out from the theater where they are working and leading, and then to stand before them rambling about how he walks on stairs, what wars he solved, and what he doesn't like the design of battleships. Does he want them to be gold or something? Just bizarre comments that's meandering. I want the president to succeed. But it's clear to me that he is unwell. I think the people around him have recognized that and go to him and admit it to him." Do you believe, let's say 4 years ago or at any point in Joe Biden's term, that they would interview a Republican on CNN and allow them to get away with saying that when there was actually a real concern during the Biden administration? Do you think that would have been not only an acceptable guest, a welcome guest? That goes back to what we're saying about Gallup and why the polls show that Republicans specifically don't believe the media to report news fully, accurately, and fairly. That is at 8%. 8% believe that the news media reports news fully, accurately, and fairly. That is a crisis that they have created themselves. I'm going to talk just a tad bit more about it when we come back. Stay with us. We'll move along, though, because we got a lot to talk about with Pete Hegseth. We got a lot to talk about with the government shutdown. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
This isn't your father's library. Create with the 3D printer. Release your inner audio engineer or sewing machine riddles, all with your library card. Go to getyourlibrarycard.com today.
It started with a cake of ivory soap. The teacher said, "Well, each one of you has a cake of ivory soap. See what you can make." And I did a bird. I'm like a farmer that plants the cornfield and can't wait to see the sprouts and the corn come up and then harvest it. I'm sort of like that.
This is Jim from Famous Brands. We are ready for fall and loaded with all of your favorite brands. Great new deals are arriving every week. We have the largest selection of clothing and footwear in the Finger Lakes, all at below retail prices. Famous Brands, downtown Watkins Glen, where you're always looking good for less.
Football's newest show breaks down all things NFL. GMFB Overtime.
Check out top highlights, player interviews, special guests, and everything in between. 5 days a week.
GMFB Overtime. It's football for everyone.
If you have one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Some viewer comments here. Climate Fact Friday, Bob sent in a second one, but we haven't got to the first one, but I'm going to skip ahead to the second one. Good morning, all. In reference to an earlier comment about why Russia attacked Ukraine, there's a January 2020 YouTube video where RFK explains the real reason Russia attacks Ukraine. Thank you. I haven't seen it. Mark writes in, a $2,000 check would be awesome, and tariffs are helping businesses too. I've seen a lot of companies on TV saying the tables have finally turned and their businesses are booming. Well, thank you for that. Finally, Trump's OMB chief built the plan for this moment. Starved pet programs, forced reauthorization, and actually shrink Washington. It's a very interesting time when we talk about the government shutdown. Okay, so again, just to read these numbers, but again, you do not have to worry about this because you watch Frankly Speaking and you can trust us here to be fully accurate and fair. Americans' confidence in the mass media has edged down to a new low, with just 28% expressing a great deal or fair amount of trust in newspaper, television, and radio to report the news fully, accurately, and fairly. This is down from 31% last year and 40% 5 years ago. Meanwhile, 7 in 10 U.S. adults now say they have not very much confidence, 36%, or not at all, 34%. Media trust is at record low among all party lines. Republicans' confidence, which has risen from 21% since 2015, has dropped to single digits, 8% for the first time in the trend. For Democrats, the narrowest of majorities, 51%, now express trust in the media, which is a repeat of the low previous seen in 2016. Well, no wonder they, quote-unquote, trust the media, because the media is pushing their agenda. So that comes as absolutely no surprise. And we're going to have examples that I didn't even know would tie in with that poll, because there's so many examples of the media attacking the president's plans, attacking the president in general. But how about this? Let's talk about quickly the Hegseth meeting, and then we'll move along to the government shutdown. War Secretary Pete Hegseth delivered a blunt message to military leaders, as we know: get fit, get on board with the Trump agenda, or get out. Now, I guess one guy did get out, but he says it's for personal and family reasons. A top Air Force commander, General Thomas Basseri, announced his retirement. Now, they're trying to present this because they're blaming Hegseth in a way, but he said, after much reflection and with a full heart, Barb and I have made a difficult decision to request retirement from the United States Air Force for personal and family reasons. While I'm stepping away from active duty, my commitment to service remains. I look forward to finding new ways to support our Air Force, our national defense, and the incredible people who make it all possible. Now, Basseri was nominated by the Trump administration to be the Air Force's Vice Chief of Staff over the summer. Now, again, they're presenting this in the biased media as this is because of the speech that Hegseth gave. But continuing here with a piece by Morgan Phillips of Fox, it said here that there was a lot of concern about the meeting at first. Instead, that what we got was a televised address from Hegseth and Trump. The secretary pushed a populist message of handing decision-making back to the warfighter, requiring senior leadership to perform physical training in line with lower-ranking officers and bringing uniformity back to the force. Garrett Smith, an active-duty Marine Corps reservist and CEO of defense tech firm Reveal, said the spectacle was unusual but not without precedent. Spectacle? Quote, at a first level, at any big multinational corporation or big organization, when there's a new boss, it's totally reasonable to call in all your regional managers and VPs for a setting of tone, to reconfirm the agenda, to ensure enlightenment. So all that makes sense. But obviously, these are not normal times. This is a Trump administration. So it's going to come with a bunch of enhanced drama, mystique, and weirdness about it. The policy and the action might have been totally great, but much of the country is going to be left wondering, what was that really about? I don't know. I don't know why this kind of spin on it. Even so, Smith argued the underlying message was unmistakable. A return to warfighting and preparation for winning wars is a priority mission of the department. There was a perception we'd strayed from that, and that had become one mission among many. Reconfirming that this is the mission is really important, investing in warfighting ethos. This is a historic come-to-Jesus meeting, said Chad Robichaud, a former reconnaissance Marine who deployed to Afghanistan 8 times. The message is clear. The days of divisiveness, resistance, and undermining leadership are over. It was crystal clear. Generals and admirals are on notice. Comply and enforce these new policies and culture or be fired. No more woke leaders. The topic today is about the nature of ourselves, because no plan, no program, no reform, no formation will ultimately succeed unless we have the right people and the right culture for the Department of War, Hegseth said. I love the idea, and a viewer mentioned it yesterday. I love the fact that this wasn't an email, this wasn't a memo, because that's what one of the generals said anonymously, that this could have been an email. Well, the emails apparently have been being ignored. That when you're supposed to have so much PT and you're letting that slide, or this rule is supposed to be set in place and you're letting that slide, and it just creates a culture of letting a lot slide, as Hegseth said, and of course I'm paraphrasing and kind of whittling it down. But I think that was a very important, and that term, you've heard it before in your working world, I'm sure, that come to Jesus meeting, that there's no more nonsense. and that was needed to be done in person, as an email would not, maybe not even be read, but if read, would not have the same impact as Hegseth saying it directly. But just to show you CNN's The Arena, they interviewed Representative Jason Crow from Colorado. He said, so this is kind of a look at who the media is interviewing, but also where the Democrat Party's mindset is, because we know that right now they are being seen as kind of a party that is favoring the criminals, coddling the criminals, defending the criminals, or they're the party that is now pro-government shutdown. We'll continue, though. About Hegseth's meeting, Crow said packing hundreds of generals and admirals into a room so they could be lectured by Pete Hegseth on woke culture, war issues, and grooming standards is not something that you see in the United States of America, or should see in the United States of America. That's something that Vladimir Putin would do. That's something that Kim Jong-un would do, or Xi would do in a dictatorship. Not in the United States of America, because it's not how we do business. So we don't do business in person anymore. We don't have the leader of the War Department, the Department of War, should not, he's basically a dictator if he has a meeting with his generals and admirals in person. That is what Representative Jason Crow from Colorado said. He added, though he wasn't finished, just imagine this for a minute. You've been serving for 40 years. You're a general. You have a dozen combat deployments under your belt. You have seen your friends give their life for this country. You've uprooted your family every 3 years. You work 80, 90, 100-hour weeks to complete missions and to do right by the men and women under your charge. And you are called back last minute, away from your post, away from your mission, to sit in a room and to hear a TED Talk by Pete Hegseth on grooming standards, the right way to shave, how to wear uniforms, and making sure people aren't fat in their ranks. That's crazy, right? That's crazy. It's a waste of taxpayer money. It's a waste of their time. It's a waste of their focus on their mission. And it's just plain un-American. And then you add on top of that Donald Trump lecturing them and rambling about his favorite war movies, about bringing battleships back. It was a disgrace. It was a waste of time. Our service members deserve better. Now, if you've ever talked to somebody in the military, especially recently, as they're going through basic training or just throughout the year, and wasting their time with these, whether it's DEI, sexual harassment training, all these different training classes they have to do, they have nothing to do with the war zone, but has everything to do with kind of corporate culture. Like I said, sexual harassment, DEI culture, kind of the woke culture. Mr. Crow, Representative Crow, was not as upset about that waste of time for these people, but he was upset that the Secretary of the Department of War wanted to talk with his generals and admirals about the now set standards in the military. That is un-American. It's what a dictator does. Your thoughts on that? And I know we have a lot of veterans. We have a lot of people from the military. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. We do have a Climate Fact Friday from Bob coming up in just a little bit. What else kind of announcements can I make? Well, I don't have time for it, so we'll make announcements later on. How did you enjoy the Hesselson's tent sale? It's still going on now. I know quite a few of you reached out and said you're going to go yesterday. I went yesterday. Had a great time. Got a lot. Bought quite a few things, and it's going to be a great deer season this year. I'm going to be warm, that's for sure. All right, stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
My fiance is a veteran. He was a combat medic in the Army.
I did tours in Korea, Germany, and Bosnia before I got injured.
There's been a lot of wear and tear on his body.
My knees are bone on bone from doing all those jumps and lugging my backpack and all that gear around. I was also exposed to toxins.
When Yusuf got out of the military, he needed help getting his disability benefits.
Luckily, DAV came to the rescue. They fought for me the same way that I fought for my country.
Every year, DAV provides life-changing support to more than 1 million veterans like Yusuf, helping them get the benefits they've earned so they can achieve victories, great and small.
Now Yusuf is paying it forward. DAV has been instrumental in helping him start 2 healthcare technology companies that are working to help veterans everywhere.
My victory is never giving up and finding more ways to serve.
He's pretty amazing.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Dante Brown, Big Fox News.
The Frankly Speaking roof cam. I don't know if you can see that off in the distance. They're cleaning up the streets with all the leaves because we've got the Wine Glass Marathon coming up this weekend in the Gaffer District. But thank you to Boss Security for bringing us to that view. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Yes, we'll be learning more about the Wine Glass Marathon coming up in just a little bit. Let's go to some viewer comments. Trump just did an hour-long speech at the UN off the cuff. He's okay. Great point. That's what I mean. It's so disingenuous. Well, it's outright lies and fabrication from the media when they try to tell us after 4 years of hiding Biden's mental health and now lecturing us about Trump for some reason. I mean, the speeches that he gives in the constant, every day you see a new interview that he gave with some different outlet that lasted a very long time. So, yeah, the constant events and the things that he goes to, it's laughable when they try to push that. It's another example, just like with crime, just like inflation under Biden. Never mind what you see with your eyes. Trust us. And guess what? According to polls, they're not trusting them anymore. Never mind what you see. Trump is unhealthy. Never mind what you see. Crime is not a problem. Ignore the grieving families and the victims. Ignore them. Trust our numbers. Remember during the campaign with Biden, it was, no, I know you can't afford groceries, but you're wrong. Look at this document from some bureaucrat. It's actually really good right now. All right, continuing with comments from viewers. The government is going to operate like X, formerly known as Twitter. Half the overhead, more effective and efficient. Thank you very much. Mark writes in, did you see where the Trump administration wants to give Ukraine vital war intelligence against Russia? Yes, we ran out of time to report on that. I think it was yesterday, or maybe I have it here in my stack. I don't know. But yes, starting to make moves in that direction. I think it's, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I don't want to put my thought on it, but seems like an interesting move and a good move. Good morning, Frank. Well, hey, good morning. Do you think that the left-wing media might be suffering from Trump fatigue? Doge, the Gulf of America, kind of forgot about that one. Epstein, along with all the other lawsuits, aren't delivering for them. I have to believe that there'll be a surge in cannabis sales. Yes, I do think there's fatigue. I think there's also, this happened the first term too. Remember when they just keep losing on certain things that, and it became cliche to even joke about it, really. That's how bad it became, where the walls are closing in. Especially with Russia, right? They would say that, my goodness, the walls were closing in on everything, and of course nothing came from it. Now they don't use that term as much, though they do occasionally. The walls are closing in, and nothing comes from it. Yes, I do think there's a level of fatigue, and yes, I would agree there's probably an increase in cannabis sales. Comment from a different viewer. Thank you, Mr. Crow, for proving you know nothing about the military. Trust me, the military is not a business. Yes, exactly. Representative Crow calling it a disgrace, calling it a dictatorship because Hegseth had the audacity to meet with his generals, with the generals and the admirals. Okay. I wanted to mention, before we talk about the government shutdown, well, this is part of the government shutdown. I had the pleasure of going to a press conference yesterday with Congressman Nick Langworthy, attending it and hearing his views on the shutdown. And we're going to book an interview with him soon, get him on, hear his thoughts on it. But there was one of the big takeaways I took, and I got to say a huge pat on the back. During his speech, he vowed that he will not accept his salary. And he is going to put in the notification, not accept his salary until the federal shutdown ends because of all the workers that are being unpaid, the military specifically. The military is not getting paid. So he said that he will withhold his own salary during the shutdown. He said members of Congress should not receive pay while essential workers, and I will say this, most importantly, military personnel and different law enforcement go without their checks. So thank you for making that move. I've heard other people do. I think that's the only right move to make. And he had mentioned this in his press conference too. I don't have the clip specifically, so I'm going to paraphrase that after this is over, after the smoke clears, something needs to be done. That if there is a government shutdown, he was saying that maybe there's a way to always have a stopgap in there or a continuing resolution if there is this problem, so people can't use it for partisanship. But also, they have to see in Washington that if there is a shutdown and they want, whatever party wants to use it for political gain, the military should not be a pawn. The military should always get paid. And I don't think that's a controversial statement, but sometime way back when shutdowns, when they thought it could hurt somebody the most, they made that rule that the military wouldn't get paid, and it's just not right. They shouldn't be used as pawns. Now, according to somebody, there's 5 Democrats who may fold under pressure to end the government shutdown. We'll talk about that when we come back. Got to take a short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
More cars, lower prices. Simmons Rockwell. Make car buying simple when you drive your deal at a Simmons Rockwell location near you, where you'll always find more cars at lower prices.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Lather, rinse, moisturize, repeat, and repeat. But it never feels like enough. It's not your products. It's your water. Hard water leaves a mineral residue that clogs pores and dries out hair. Culligan water softeners remove damaging minerals, revitalizing brittle hair and dry skin. Upgrade your shower and skincare routine with Culligan. Water you love.
This is a Sue the Collector consumer alert. Hi, my name is Jared Johnson with SueTheCollector.com. Did you know that repossessions are on the rise in America? If your car, truck, or motorcycle has been repossessed by an agent that broke a lock, assaulted you, or trespassed on your private property, you have rights. Call us for a free case review at 1-877-BAD-REPO. You pay nothing unless we win money for you. Call
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Seeing so many people preparing for the wine glass running by. You can definitely tell it's a wine glass time because there's always a lot of runners on the street in the morning, but extra this week. So if you are in the area and you're tuning in for the first time, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Okay, a couple comments from viewers as we wrap up. It's hard to believe. Wrap up hour number 1, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the government shutdown. And I do have a couple quick announcements. So Ken writes in, it isn't surprising that the legacy media and Democrats are trying to push the idea that Trump has dementia and other health issues. What is surprising is that there are millions of low-information sheeple that believe it and still think that Biden was at the top of his game. Yes, but it's the same goes, and Ken, you know it, because that's why the media is presenting the idea, and sadly I've seen so many people duped by it on social media, where the idea is that the government shutdown is caused by Republicans because Republicans have the majority in the House, the Senate, and of course we have the White House. So at face value, and this is why the news pushed it, and again, I'm not going to say the outlet, but I saw it with my own eyes, and it frustrated me because it's either they're inept about how Washington works and how our system works, or they're purposefully pushing a lie to blame it on Republicans. Because as you know, because you pay attention, and you're not, to use Ken's word, you're not a sheeple. If you pay attention, you know that in the Senate you have to hit the 60 vote to stop the filibuster. There are not 60 Republicans. So it's not as if it's Republican infighting. And they can't even present it as Republican infighting because they can't have that kind of, the media that is, they can't start that conversation because then you have to have the conversation about John Fetterman, I was blanking on his first name, and other Democrats have crossed the aisle. So we'll talk about the government shutdown. Thank you for that, Ken. I appreciate it. I know those are two very different topics, but I tie them in together. Somehow. When we come back, we're going to hear from Climate Fact Friday Bob, and then we'll make a couple announcements. So stay tuned. Hour number 2 coming up.
There's a lot going on at all 3 Blaze Alexander Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram stores. Let's check them out. Look, someone in Mansfield's getting a new Jeep Wrangler, a Grand Cherokee in State College. And here in Lewisburg, a new Ram truck to tow all the toys. And don't forget, we have the lowest price guaranteed.
Tired of high price delivery delivery? The Liquor Factory is now offering free delivery. You heard right, free delivery to Oreen, Game Mills, Painted Post, and Riverside. Corning, you're in luck too. Free delivery with a $25 minimum order. Call store for details. Also, don't forget their 15% case wine discount. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram for weekly specials and tastings. The Liquor Factory, 285 South Hamilton Street, Game Mills. Or call 607-937-WINE. That's 607-937-9463. The Liquor Factory, raising spirits, delivering fun in a bottle.
The time is Hesselson's annual tent sale is going on now through Sunday. 4 days of huge savings in all departments. Hunting clothing, work and hunting boots, general clothing, socks, swimming pools, hot tubs, and much, much more. If you're looking for unbelievable savings and great deals, Hesselson's annual tent sale is the place to be. But come in early for the best selection as quantities are limited. With savings like this, now is a perfect time to stock up on all of your holiday shopping and hunting clothing and footwear needs. But for 4 days only, it's Hesselson's huge annual tent sale will end Sunday at 3 p.m. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at
Welcome to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. I hope you had a chance to make it out to the tent sale. Yesterday was the first day. You just saw the ad for the Hesselson's tent sale. I went on opening day. Wow, what a lot of great deals. Everything was a great deal, but I bought a lot of merchandise, and I appreciate it. Everybody's so helpful there, and they make it so, for as crowded as it is, it's so quick to get in and out. So if you go, I'd love to hear how much fun you had and even see or hear for some of your purchases. Okay, we're going to read viewer comments. We have Climate Fact Friday with Bob. I also, if you would humor me for just a moment, do a little bit of housekeeping here. First, I'm going to put that up on the screen because earlier in the week we talked with the Alzheimer's Association. Was that yesterday? And I know I've been a little bit behind on the game this year. Last year we raised a lot of funds from you and from people on the street because Alzheimer's Association does such amazing work. We're going to walk again. Right now the team is made up of me, and you may remember Elisa, who was on the program with her foreign exchange student, Sylvia. We're going to walk. We've got a couple of people that are going to register at the last minute here, I think. But we're just trying to raise some funds for an amazing cause. So if you are so inclined, we would appreciate you donating to our team. You can donate to Elisa. You can donate to me. It doesn't matter, but it's all under that website right there at Big Fox. And we'll let you know how it goes. I'll make sure to have some pictures. It's not this Saturday. Obviously, it's next Saturday. And we'll have some pictures for you then. But we would appreciate it. So I'm going to keep that up while I make some other announcements. Okay, again, this is exciting. Saturday and Sunday at 1 o'clock. If you're in the Hornell area, tune into WLEA or go on to WYSL, and you can listen to it online. I keep saying to just our Hornell viewers, but you can also listen to it online as well, WLEA or WYSL. And listen to The Pulse with Mayor John Buckley, Hornell Mayor John Buckley. Well, he's been kind enough to ask me to be his guest again on the program, and I love it every time. It's a lot of fun. So make sure you tune in this weekend or check it out online and listen to the whole show. You will not be disappointed, I guarantee it. Okay, also, as I said, we're going to be hearing about the Wine Glass Marathon coming up in this hour. On Monday, we're going to hear from Corning Rotary Club. They have their big October feast coming up next Saturday from 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. You're going to learn all about it on Monday. We've got a lot of other special guests next week as well. We're working on another interview with Congressman Nick Langworthy during what looks like to be a prolonged government shutdown, but who knows? All right, let's get to our viewer comments. But again, I'm going to take that off the screen. But if you are so inclined, I would really appreciate it. It goes to a great cause. Last year, you guys did such a good job. I even won a medal as a Champions Club member that I proudly wear at special occasions. So I would appreciate it. All right. For that, I know there's a lot of things in the community that we try to be a part of here on Frankly Speaking, as we talked about from day one. We want to be a part of the community. That's important to us, and that's why so often being a part of the community asks that we seek donations occasionally. And we do appreciate it, all your help through the years, as we have our Salvation Army telethon in this case. So many examples, so thank you. Okay, let's go to some viewer comments before I read Climate Fact Friday with Bob. This coming from a viewer. After Democrats call Republicans Nazis for years, they seem a little sensitive about a sombrero showing how weak they are. Yeah, boy, Hakeem Jeffries is not happy. Huh? Wow, he's used some rhetoric on that. But that is a fair point. Okay, let's go to Climate Fact Friday with Bob. He says, good day to all. Well, thank you, Climate Fact Friday, Bob. He says, geoengineering is a manipulation of Earth's natural forces by man playing gods to further their agenda and enrich themselves in the process. One of these processes is carbon capture and storage, or CCS. The U.S. is number one in the world in the CCS area programs. I was surprised to find ExxonMobil leads the way in CCS. The reason is that when they inject high-pressure CO2 into abandoned oil wells, they can retrieve more of the residual oil that was left over from the primary drilling. Also, benefit from the optics that they are reducing atmospheric CO2 is good publicity. The real kicker is they are given taxpayer-funded grants for these decarbonization projects. All of this, CCS projects, come with safety concerns. Leaks in the CO2 transport pipelines happen more often than you might think. There are around 5,000 miles of a CO2 capture pipelines, mostly in the south of the Mississippi, Gulf Coast region, over to Texas. There are on average 66 safety accidents each year. They're mostly at work sites. In February 2020, a pipeline leak occurred in the town of Satarsha, Mississippi. Residents began to pass all for no apparent reason. CO2 is colorless, and odorless, so no one knew what was happening. Some people even passed out in their cars. Children passed out on playgrounds. All in all, 45 people were hospitalized. Luckily, no one died. This is what happens when these unhinged climate change gods are left to their own devices. The unintended results, which do nothing but disrupt the natural order of the planet and do nothing except endanger us all. Please contact your congressional representatives and say no to all geoengineering. Thank you. Please have a great and safe weekend. Well, thank you, Climate Fact Friday, Bob. We always do appreciate that. So according to some, there could be about 5 Democrats who may fold under the pressure to end the government shutdown. Senator Jeanine Shaheen from New Hampshire. Because you got to remember, these senators, they still have primaries. They still have general election. Senator Gary Peters, who's announced that he would not seek re-election early this year. So that could go either way on that. You've got Senator Maggie Hassan from New Hampshire as well, Ruben Gallego from Arizona, or John Ossoff from Georgia. So just names to keep an eye on for those that are speculating. CNN is, I got to say, just pushing. I hope, in my eyes, this is just trying to mislead you. But you never know. Republicans very often, at least the old Republicans, used to get very scared of government shutdowns. Aaron Blake at CNN writes why some Republicans are getting cold feet about Trump's shutdown layoff threats. Now, think of how he worded that. No, he is talking about Trump's shutdown layoff threats as one term. But to those ill-informed viewers, it could be Trump's shutdown and the layoff threats, you see. But Republican Senator Mike Lee offered some colorful commentary about Democrats and the government shutdown. It's going to harm them because Russ Voigt, the OMB director, has been dreaming about this moment, preparing this moment since puberty. This is going to be the Democrats' worst nightmare. Lee was alluding to the Trump administration's threats and actions to use the shutdown to target federal workers and things they say are favored by Democrats. Neither Voigt nor President Donald Trump has been at all subtle about their intent to do this. Trump said he tasked Voigt with determining which Democrat agencies to cut. And Voigt has already announced a series of funding halts that targeted 16 states, all of them blue. But by Thursday, Speaker Johnson offered a view of Voigt's motivations that was almost diametrically opposed to Lee's. Russ does this reluctantly. He takes no pleasure in this. This is not a fun task, and he is not enjoying that responsibility. So, according to this, Republicans are getting cold feet. I guess we'll keep a close eye on that. That would be a disastrous day if they were to cave for some reason on the shutdown. But stranger things, when it comes to specifically certain Rhino Republicans, stranger things have happened. Oh, by the way, the White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt took CNN to task yesterday over Situation Room anchor Pamela Brown's government shutdown spin. On the Situation Room, I don't know if you heard about this. This was a big story amongst conservatives yesterday. That House Speaker Mike Johnson's press conference, they cut away on Thursday morning in which Johnson stated that Democrats are responsible for the government shutdown. While cutting from Johnson, Brown said Johnson is, quote, trying to frame the shutdown as a Democrat shutdown and has falsely claimed that Democrats want to give extend health care to illegal immigrants. Okay. So this is one of those very annoying live, quote, unquote, fact checks where they're so often wrong. I would say 9 times out of 10 they're wrong. But they keep doing it because they hope you just saw that, you tune away, and you stick with that lie, and you push it yourself, and you spread the lie to the masses. That's what they're hoping. But what's interesting about this is how many examples have I already shown you this morning where CNN allowed Democrats, representatives, to come on there and outright lie about what happened or say very questionable, I'll put it that way to be polite, rhetoric, and just allow that. No pushback, no fact checks, quote unquote fact checks. Why do the fact checks only work one way? Is there a reason for that? Is that inherently how they were built? That a fact check can only be used to yell at a Republican or cut away from a Republican? And I use the term fact check when so often they are proven wrong. Going back to one of the earliest fact checks I remember, live fact checks that interrupted somebody, which was Mitt Romney, who was so wishy-washy. Well, when Mitt Romney was debating Obama and they were talking about Benghazi, he was right. Candy Crowley interrupted him, falsely claimed what happened, which was inaccurate, and then moved on. But I'm going to continue. So after Brown said that, Levitt blasted CNN on X, saying CNN's ratings are in the toilet because they're a propaganda machine for Democrats. Here are the actual facts. Democrats shut down the federal government to try to give taxpayer-funded benefits to illegal aliens. The funding proposal put forward by the Democrats will result in nearly $200 billion in spending on illegal aliens and other non-citizens over the next decade. The Democrats' America Last proposal would repeal provisions in the Working Families Tax Cut signed into law by President Trump that take on waste, fraud, and abuse and block illegals from receiving health care benefits. The Democrats' proposal intentionally allows for Medicaid to go to these improperly granted asylum and parole during Joe Biden's illegal alien invasion. She also wrote that under the Democrats' proposal, Medicaid would be forced to pay more for illegal aliens' emergency care than it does for American patients who are disabled, elderly, or children. It would also allow California to continue a gimmick that funds its Medicaid for illegals program and resurrect the subsidy for non-citizens that was established under Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act. White House spokeswoman Abigail Jackson echoed that sentiment, saying fake news CNN refuses to let the few viewers they have left hear the truth because they know it would contradict the left-wing narrative they spend all day parroting. The repeated patterns of lies and deception are why Americans' confidence in the media has a new low, and we mentioned that earlier in the program. But the Trump administration will never shy away from sharing the truth with the Americans, and here it is. The Democrats shut down the government because they want to give free health care to illegal aliens. All right. We're going to talk more about the government shutdown. I see some comments coming in. Stay with us. Thanks again to Climate Fact Friday, Bob, for giving us today's climate fact. We appreciate that. When we come back, we got a lot to cover. And then a little bit later on, we're going to be hearing more about the Wine Glass Marathon. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking. We'll be right back.
Come explore the magic of Nap Winery. It's the perfect fusion of wine, food, and panoramic views. This charming destination will delight every palate with a curated wine flight, wine by the glass, or your favorite bottle to share. Some special finds to try are Nap's iced wine, dry rosé, and saperavi. While soaking in the view, you may want to enjoy a brunch, lunch, or dinner at the on-site restaurant. Book your experience at Nap Winery today.
Your tap water is delicious. I know, right? It's this Culligan Smart drinking water system. What do you think is going on in there?
I'm smelling a touch of chlorine.
Yeah, I'm detecting some PFAS.
I'm also getting notes of lead.
Perfection.
Sending it up.
Here we go.
Certified to reduce more than 70 contaminants. It's like having your own team of water experts. See the smart difference at Culligan.com.
More cars, lower prices. Simmons Rockwell. Make car buying simple when you drive your deal at a Simmons Rockwell location near you, where you'll always find more cars at lower prices.
This is a collector consumer alert. Hi, my name is Jared Johnson with SueTheCollector.com. Did you know that repossessions are on the rise in America? If your car, truck, or motorcycle has been repossessed by an agent that broke a lock, assaulted you, or trespassed on your private property, you have rights. Call us for a free case review at 1-877-BAD-REPO. You pay nothing unless we win money for you. Call me now.
Time to get clean!
Yes, but that liquid detergent leaves you covered in harsh chemical residue. Not Earth Breeze. Just one sheet gives you a powerful clean.
Uh-oh. We lost the Frankly Speaking roof cam. It needs to be restarted every once in a while, and that is totally my fault. But we always thank Boss Security for bringing us that view, even if I don't always do my best part on it. And I appreciate that. Oops. All right. Let's go to some, what do we got here? I think we have a couple of viewer comments. And then we're going to talk more about the government shutdown, and we're going to hear about the Wine Glass Marathon in the next segment. All right. Morning, Frank. Well, good morning. What do you think about New York State giving out CDL licenses to illegals, some with no name, some with fictitious names? I know they made me jump through hoops before I could even get the new enhanced license, and I've lived in New York State my whole life. Yes, the double standard, that's what so often gets people perhaps the most frustrated. Why is there a man who turns out to be an illegal alien going to the New York State DMV and getting a driver's license, a CDL license, and it's allowed for him to give his name as no name given? It's not some conspiracy theory website. This isn't some radical. This is factual. This happened. There's pictures of the driver's license online in a press conference held by the Oklahoma governor, whose team arrested the illegal immigrants. So I don't have an answer. It's extremely frustrating. I don't have an answer for you why there are a different set of rules where we need to jump through hoops, and yet in New York State it seems as if illegal immigrants, or in many cases when you talk about bail reform and things like that, criminals get to skip the line, get to jump ahead, get to ignore the red tape. I know. I can understand the frustration. Thank you. Mark writes in that Hakeem Jeffries is now on every news outlet saying it's Trump's fault for the government shutdown. He rambles on and on with lies and gets away with it. I personally can't stand him and switch the channel every time he is on. Well, before this, he was receiving a lot of criticism from his own party. Not as much as Chuck Schumer, but he wasn't showing himself to be enough of the resistance. So they were starting to push back on him, so he realized he had to take the leap and show that he's a part of the resistance. Chuck Schumer doing the same. Chuck Schumer's numbers at an all-time low for him, with a lot of talk of AOC primarying him. Again, though, I always find that interesting. I don't remember when Schumer is back up for re-election, and I know we've looked this up. I will say I think one of the shocking things to me, and this is not in any way, shape, or form to be rude, but I would have guessed, because Chuck Schumer has been there so long, that, I don't know, what would you have guessed his age at? He's 74 years old. Yeah, I would have thought he was a little older than that, I guess. 74 years old. And they're talking about primary, so he's going to run. It's not this year, so in a couple of years, and I guess it's just expected for him to run for another 6-year term, so into his 80s, right? Let me see what it says here. I don't know if he's declared. I don't know anything about it. It's never a good idea to do this on the fly. His next election isn't scheduled in 2028. Okay, I was trying to figure that out. So 2028, so he's still got plenty of time. So this whole talk about AOC is probably a little premature, but he's 74, right? So he'd be 77, running for a 6-year term. Maybe that's just to hype up AOC a little bit more. Okay, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said in regards to the shutdown The Democrats are negotiating like terrorists. This isn't the way to have a discussion, shutting down the government and lowering the GDP. We could see a hit to the GDP, a hit to growth, and a hit to working Americans. The Democrats want to negotiate like terrorists. They want to say, this is what we have to have, and if we don't get it, we're going to close down the government. And this has been historically what Democrats do. You, as Republicans, you will be seen as compromising in the eyes of Democrats and in the eyes of the media if you give in to every single Democrat demand, and they give in nothing to you. That is compromise. But I'll continue. Treasury Secretary Bezant said the American people are being held hostage by Chuck Schumer's poll numbers. If they want to shut the government down, then there are ramifications. So Chuck Schumer is literally looking at a re-election. He's that concerned. 74 years old. He'll be, 78? No, what year is this? No, 77. Close enough. 77 when he runs for re-election for another 6-year term. But, I mean, here's a man who's always been propped up, who's always been in that kind of leadership position. So it must sting when he sees a kind of a new guard come in with the Democrat Party, meaning the socialist wing that is becoming more and more popular, is looking like they're going to win a mayoral race in New York City. Representative Maxine Waters admitted the truth. The Democrats are forcing the government shutdown to get, quote, health care for everybody. Asked by reporter Allison Steinberg, are Democrats demanding health care for illegal aliens? She said, Democrats are demanding health care for everybody. Oof. She didn't get the memo that you're supposed to say the opposite. We want to save lives. We want to make sure that the health care is available to those who would die not having the help of our government. Anyway, we'll get to some other viewer comments, but I want to make sure we get time for our important interview about the Wine Glass Marathon, because I know a lot of people, you may not be racing the Wine Glass Marathon, but you have questions about the surrounding area, how it's going this year. Then we're going to go through some of the rhetoric, and there's some nasty rhetoric when it comes to the shutdown. There's also some positive things being said, but mostly by conservative outlets. Then we have a couple things about kind of the, I don't know what you call it, the rise in this left political violence. Well, we may get a chance to talk a little bit about that. But we got to take a short break. And then we're going to hear all about the Wine Glass Marathon. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Yeah, hello. I'm really not sure if this is what you all do, but I really don't have anywhere else to turn.
Hi. I don't even know why I'm calling right now. I'm sorry. My thoughts are going a mile a minute.
My kids are out of state. My buddies from the Army are all gone now. I'm really alone.
I left the service last year. My mom just passed away a few months ago. I miss so much time with her. I keep getting calls about the bills, and I'm trying to get a job, but I feel so stuck.
Okay, ma'am. I'm glad you called.
Okay, sir. Let's stay on the line and walk through some things.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Can you help me?
Mom, Dad, we're going out.
Thank you.
Oh, look, they're playing chess.
What you got there?
Will you help my mom?
She's real sick, huh?
Hey, crew, I'll give the first move to anyone who signs up to be an organ donor.
How do you do it?
Easy. Just go to organdonor.gov.
You heard him, organdonor.gov.
More donors means more hope. Sign up at organdonor.gov.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We're broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and it's that time of year. It's a wine glass. I like that it's wine glass race series now.
Yes.
Not just the marathon. We can't just talk about that. You have so much going on. Thank you for taking time, by the way.
Thank you.
For being
Thanks
on the
for
show.
having me.
How's the planning going? It's too late now, right?
Great. You know, there's always last minute stuff, but
Sure.
you know, there's a great team that we have, a safety team that's been working year round, and we do every year planning stuff, and you know, it saves us when we have things like the weather changing at the last minute.
I'm so glad we could talk about that, and we will in just a second,
Yeah.
but I have to get your opinion on this. So we had Sheriff Allard. He was on talking about it just the other day, and I asked him, does it get easier after doing it all these years? He thinks it has gotten easier.
It has.
Yeah.
It has. Because I think everybody knows we're really, somebody said it recently, we're a well-oiled machine, and
Yeah.
that truly is. A lot of the same people have been involved. They understand the importance, and will put the time and energy into it. And so, and I think we all kind of know what each other's thinking too.
Right.
So, you know, or
You don't have to have as many meetings
Yes.
as you might have
Yes.
had to 10 years ago. So what do the numbers look like this year? Is it a success as always?
Yeah, and in fact, we're up. So we have over
That's wonderful.
3,000 for the half, which is, we haven't hit 3,000 since well before COVID.
That's
and
amazing.
over 2,700. And I'm not sure we've ever hit 2,700 for the full marathon.
Wow.
So right now, with that and those two and the 5K, we're looking at 6,700.
And that's what I like, and we talked about with the sheriff. Yes, some of them, a good portion of them are local, but a lot of that people come from out of town.
They are.
Bringing in, you can notice on Market Street, you do. I see the same people almost every day, and all of a sudden, I don't recognize this person, that person. It brings so many people, so much tourism money, just great PR for our area.
We had people stopping in our office last week from out of town.
Yeah.
So that's at least a whole week that they're in the area.
It is kind of interesting because we got the wine glass race, but also reminds me a little bit of the feeling around the NASCAR race.
Yes.
When you see so many people coming into town, you see the hotels are booked up, the restaurants are full, and that's a great thing to have for our area.
It's awesome. Yeah, we have 48 states and 17 countries this year, and some countries we haven't had before, like Ireland and Norway. So
wow,
there's, you know,
That's
it's always fun to see where they're coming from.
Yeah, I would think so. And when do the festivities begin? Because you normally have when they get their bibs and all that. When does that start?
Tomorrow morning at 11.
Okay.
We actually are currently setting up the expo with all the vendors and everything right now, and getting the bibs and stuff set over at the museum.
Wow. All right. So I got you really at a busy time. But you had mentioned it. You alluded to it. Let's talk about the heat. We're not used to this.
No, we're not. I guess the good news is it hasn't changed.
Right.
Right. We kind of went from summer, and it has been steady and stayed. Right.
Yeah.
We haven't
Right.
had, a couple lows at night, but nothing really in the daytime that's really changed. No humidity. It's supposed to, by 3 or 4, hit 80, 82, which is the peak. And the runners should be finished by then. They'll start around 47 degrees to 50 degrees.
Okay.
The half will definitely start in the fog. The full... the elevation difference will probably start in full sun. They did the last 2 years where we saw difference at the half. So the half runners may, a lot of them even finish while it's still foggy.
Still foggy, a little chilly. But like you said, they've been preparing and training in this exact, most likely, depending on where they come from, but most likely the same kind of weather. So it's better than coming from extreme hot to getting out there. And some of the years that we've had where it's freezing cold out there.
Yes. But we've put extra measures in place. We've got extra water and hydration on the course. The Cooper's Plains and Painted Post fire departments have really stepped up. They both are putting out misters.
Okay.
So, the runners can run under misters, and they're setting up cooling stations with cooling towels, or the place where they can get out. In the air conditioning, we've beefed up the med tents, the last two that are on the bike path, with extra ice and stuff. And then at the finish line, we always hand out the silver blankets, the heat sheets. At noon, we're going to cut those off, and we're going to switch over and hand out ice-soaked sponges to the runners, so they can kind of cool their faces and necks and stuff with that.
And you mentioned I'm so glad you mentioned the walking bridge, because we talk about how important it is to the community this weekend and even a little bit last weekend, but it's really a year-round thing that you're thinking about the community. Yes. And I saw the announcement, and only because of my time on the town council in Irwin, that we had heard about the bridge needing repair, and I wasn't familiar with it. So you decided, you know what, let's donate with the money that you make. Let's donate. That's wonderful. $50,000.
Yes, $50,000. Yeah, it's important.
Yeah.
Right? We years ago, when the bike path needed widening and repaired, we donated for that too. The runners train on it year round, but the communities all use it year round, and it bridges one community to the next, multiple communities. It's really important, and so we felt it's not just about the race; it's about the community and making sure that.
Yeah, and you had mentioned earlier, you were talking about headquarters. You got a new location.
We do.
How do you like it?
We love it.
Yeah,
we love it.
It's so nice to be visible. Excuse me, at storefront right on Market Street. How appropriate.
Yes, very. We've had lots of visitors, and people are welcome to stop in. We have old merchandise for sale, but questions. There's usually somebody in there, and
I think it looks great there.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really happy with it, and actually, right now, getting everything staged and handing out volunteer T-shirts and stuff has gone really smoothly in that spot. So.
Yeah, and it'll be a nice place after the race is over for people to take their photo in front of with you know what I mean?
Yes.
Just the visuals of it. So what do you think? We talked about the weather. We talked about pretty much all the information that we need to know. But what do you think is most important? Because we're the viewers, and we're probably going to be out there with our signs cheering people on. But what do the racers need to know before they head in?
So, with the heat, obviously, we've been and we've sent messages to them too. They should have been hydrating earlier this week. Yeah. Carb loading is not just the night of. Sunscreen and hats and light colored clothes. Yeah. And, if you have to adjust your time, listen to your body and do that. But, the fall trees are changing, and so it's going to be a lovely day when the sun,
you look at
not a sky, like a cloud in the sky, and the green and yellows and reds against the blue sky is gorgeous.
It's going to be
enjoy it.
You think about that from Bath to here, and here of course too. But how beautiful you must get lost in your thoughts.
Yes,
the beautiful view.
And driving around and checking signs, and if porta potties are set up and stuff, and you can't miss all the fall foliage and the beauty of our area.
I totally agree. What do you? I guess the community needs to know. You have on your website, I think on your website, road closures and things like that. So everybody. It's too long of a list. It doesn't affect too much, but at certain points and intervals. Right. So if you haven't been in the area, I guess, for all the years the wine glass has been going on, go online and find out what they need to know about that.
Correct.
Day. So,
correct.
Now, what do you think when you look at the day ahead of you? You've done this enough times. What does your day look like?
It starts really early on Sunday. I'm up before 4, and I actually leave Painted Post to come to Corning, pick up my captains that go to the full start with me, and before 5 we're headed to Bath to make sure we're ready for when the first bus shows up.
Yeah.
And I have a wonderful crew that has been at the half for years, that they do the same thing. They get there a little earlier because the buses get there earlier, right, and an earlier start time. And we just welcome the runners and get them all set.
And then that's just the beginning of your day.
Yes.
That's when the fun begins, right?
It is.
But it is funny when you say that, because I remember one year we were going to broadcast the kickoff, like the grand, and so I got here early, of course, and you never see the street so crowded at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
There's so many people. There's so many cars. We couldn't find parking in the garage. I go, this is not a typical 4 o'clock in the morning on Corning, but it kind of shows you what you're doing.
The last couple of years, we actually are Market Street from Walnut to Cedar, and then Pine Street closes at 2 on Saturday. So we get a lot set up on Saturday, and that's in thanks to the high school lacrosse team. Boys come out and they're hauling stuff, and then they come back Sunday morning and finish it.
Good for them.
Like hauling apples from our office and other things like that to make it happen. And over on Tioga, the runners are getting on the buses, and we've got the girls soccer team and CPP high school administration who, they're used to buses, and, they've got a disco ball and music playing and, getting the runners all hyped and excited for their day.
Well, and doesn't that show you how much of a part of the community this is, where the teams are volunteering, and that's early for high school kids to get up.
It truly is a
anybody
community event,
It is.
and we couldn't do it without them, start to finish. And I mentioned, Cooper's, Plains, and Painted Post fire departments, but we've got 7 volunteer fire departments that all come out en masse to help. They're EMS trained, they are, certified, they can work on the road, so they're directing traffic. We've got a high school team, we've got the Bath Academic All-Stars at the full start. We've got, Camp El Savona girls soccer team out. We've got Elmira College.
Everybody wants to be a part of it. Everybody, because there is. Listen, when you volunteer, sometimes it's not the most exciting. This is a volunteer opportunity that is exciting.
It is. It's
you get
fun.
to have a fun time from beginning to end. Do you? Let me ask 2 questions about volunteers. Do you still need volunteers?
We actually now have closed it off. We're in great shape.
Oh, good. How many volunteers ballpark do you think it takes to have something like this run smoothly?
For the year, between the 8K and this weekend, we say close to 2,500.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you have no problem getting it?
Yeah, no.
That's fantastic. Wow. Okay, so before we go, what do you recommend for runners preparing to hit the starting line? What words of encouragement would you give them?
Plan your clothing, plan your day, temper your expectations, and just go out and enjoy and, have fun with it. Meet a new runner, see where, it's all... When I ran marathons, that was always, I met 1 to 3 new people. It was a great day, right? So they're coming from all over the country and world, and you never know, you may make a new friend along the way.
And you'll come back again next year and run with them again.
That's right.
What's your personal favorite part of the weekend?
I think just getting it off and seeing those runners finish, right? It's, it's exciting. It's fun to see the volunteers get into it, and it just, once I hit tomorrow morning, there's not much I can change. Right. So it just,
just take it in, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So,
and I would recommend, if people haven't been down, if you're rooting for someone along the way, that's great. I absolutely do that. But there is something very special being at that finish line.
Oh, absolutely.
And on Market Street, whether it's staggered and it's after the finish line or whether it's before, the feeling there of the accomplishment from the runners, their family's so proud of them, their friends so proud of them, and you just taking it all in. I would highly recommend everybody make out, even if they're not running.
Yeah, you can stay on Bridge Street in front of Wegmans, right? There's plenty of space on Market Street, but really getting to see, they've trained for months and months, right? So their accomplishments coming across. We have some really fast runners. Elite field, we have a male shooting for a 104 in the half marathon, which is insane, and a woman that's trying for 117, which is typically, so some really fast times between the full and the half.
That's amazing. Well, best of luck. I know you're real busy, so I'll let you go. Thanks for taking on a little time, and we'll talk again next year.
Sounds great.
All right.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking.
More cars, lower prices. Simmons Rockwell. Make car buying simple when you drive your deal at a Simmons Rockwell location near you, where you'll always find more cars at lower prices.
Want to read about ancient wonders? Go to your local library today. But this isn't your father's library. It's the home of creativity. Release your inner audio engineer or face off a dragon in the D&D club. Make your clothing ideas come together with our sewing machine rentals. Create with the 3D printer or come to the library event nights to chat with those within your community. All with your library card. Go to getyourlibrarycard.com today.
This is a collector consumer alert. Hi, my name is Jared Johnson with SueTheCollector.com. Did you know that repossessions are on the rise in America? If your car, truck, or motorcycle has been repossessed by an agent that broke a lock, assaulted you, or trespassed on your private property, you have rights. Call us for a free case review at 1-877-BAD-REPO. You pay nothing unless we win money for you. Call me now.
In a few words, Urkel, glasses, nerd. It pays to know your nerds. If you guys didn't get nerd with me sitting up here on this show, 25 words or less.
Weeknights at 5 and 5:30 on Big Fox.
An albino buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Day one of the National Glider Competition, severe flooding has caused major disruptions in parts of Steuben County.
Throughout the year, prison reform has become a priority around New York State.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you again to Sheila Sutton. It's a tradition to have her on the program, and I look forward to it every year to find out all about the wine glass, and we've got to call it the race series now. Not just the marathon, but it's a whole series. It's a whole weekend. You can see the people on the street and how many people it brings to our community. So I want to thank her specifically for being on the program. I look forward to talking with her next year as well. Wow. I'm telling you, thank you so much to everyone donating for the Alzheimer's Walk coming up next Saturday for our Big Fox team. This is our second year tradition, and we appreciate it. We're getting great numbers as of last year. I think maybe we could be looking at our award number 2. We will see next week as we go out there and walk for the end to Alzheimer's. So thank you so much. And that is, if you're interested, that is the Big Fox team page. So thank you very much. All right. So we got so much more to talk about with the shutdown. Okay. So here's a comment from a viewer. Okay. Never mind. It isn't a comment for it. Literally at the end it says this is not for air. So I'll read it later. Thank you for the heads up. Again, we keep talking about CNN. And for whatever reason, I guess it's because of the Gallup poll that saw such a low trust in media. And CNN cut out of Speaker Johnson's press conference on the shutdown and then inaccurately presented a live fact check as their reasoning for cutting out. And the fact check was not accurate, as is normally the case with the abrupt, aggressive fact checks. So they have this apparent quote-unquote standard for Republicans, but how many quotes have we had from Democrats allowed to say whatever they wanted about the shutdown? Here's an example. Senator Jeff Merkley from Oregon, Democrat from Oregon, talking about the possible firing of government employees during the government shutdown. Merkley said that, quote, there is nothing about a shutdown that gives new powers to the president. So if it's illegal without a shutdown, it's illegal with a shutdown. There are details about how you do reductions in forces. If you haven't gone through all those steps, a firing is illegal. Remember when they first did their big display of firings early in the administration? Many of them were illegal. They had to rehire. They had to bring people back. So when they say Democrats have had an opportunity, no, there's nothing new in a shutdown. And by the way, Republicans are the ones who shut down the government because they don't want to basically reverse themselves on these massive cuts to American health care. So it's a Republican shutdown. No new law allows them to do anything they couldn't do, right? Well, without one. So again, they haven't reversed themselves. So the big, beautiful bill, they haven't erased all the progress they made with the big, beautiful bill. That is the reasoning behind the shutdown. And again, no live fact check there. Or how about this? Democrat Representative Adam Smith, not Schiff. He's a senator now. Adam Smith, unfortunate. He was on CNN News Central. And when he was asked what Democrats have actually proposed is to reestablish benefits to people who are lawfully present in the country, and that includes asylum seekers, refugees, DACA recipients, etc. I do wonder, Congressman, what you make of the broader argument that the previous administration expanded parole and asylum programs, they argued, to the point of abuse, and that granting federal benefits to those folks is not only inappropriate, but also not a reason to shut down the federal government. Your response? Representative Smith said, well, that's not the reason we're having this budget fight. It is a distraction from the larger issues of the millions of people who are going to lose their health care under the Medicaid cuts and the cuts to the Affordable Care Act. They're focusing on one little niche issue, And there are different pieces to it, to be sure. But the broader issue is the cuts to Medicaid, the cuts to the Affordable Care Act, and the whole Republican budget, which did massive tax cuts to the wealthy. So what, and we don't need to go any more into this, but it's the whole Republican budget. That is the quote-unquote compromise they're seeking to open the government, is to reverse the whole big, beautiful bill. Does that seem like a reasonable, done in good faith bargaining? Bernie Sanders took it, and this was on MSNBC. He took it to an extreme that is very scary at a time when we talk about the rhetoric and calming down the rhetoric after the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the violent attacks on conservatives. Bernie Sanders was on all in. He said, we are living in an unprecedentedly dangerous moment, possibly the worst crisis in America since the Civil War. You have a president who is acting unconstitutionally and illegally. Guess what? These projects that have been appropriated, they were signed by a president. It is illegal to rescind them. And then basically to say to people in Vermont, New York, and California, oh, you didn't vote for Donald Trump? Well, we're going to take away funding that was supposed to go to your state. Illegal, outrageous, unconstitutional. So Bernie Sanders believes that you right now are living in a time in history that is a worst crisis in America, literally, since the Civil War. Now, speaking also of the shutdown, did you see Nancy Pelosi? AOC, of course, is a rising star, and there seems to be a little bit of jealousy. Nancy Pelosi's never liked AOC. If you recall, at one point she said, and I'm paraphrasing, in AOC's district, when AOC was pushing something radical, she said, in AOC's district, I want to say a glass of water, maybe she used, or a ham sandwich or something, has as long as they have a D next to their name, would win in that election. So it's always dismissed AOC. I don't think she likes the fact that AOC is becoming a pretty important face in the Democrat Party. Whether you agree with that or not, it's a fact. So they asked Nancy Pelosi, a reporter, I don't know who the reporter was, said there was a thought from the Republicans that AOC is directing this, and that she said that senators are welcome to go to her office directly. Is she driving that? Well, clearly, Pelosi, not happy with that line of questioning, said, why are you saying such a ridiculous thing? Not happy with AOC. Now, I know we've been big fans in a way, always cautious, but the viewers have been a fan of John Fetterman showing, kind of being the calm head in the Democratic Party. There was a line of thought a while ago that there's two parties. There's the Fetterman Party and there's the AOC. I would argue that there's the AOC Democrat Party. Then there's probably like the Chuck Schumer Party, the more establishment guard. And then there's the John Fetterman's, which is the more reasonable wing that is willing to work. And of course, he's been voting with Republicans to end the shutdown. But apparently, and this is coming from Fox News, he is getting a big thumbs down from Democrats in his home state. And as Democrats turn on Fetterman, the senator is getting a big embrace from Republicans. Listen to this. 54% of Democrats in the crucial battleground state of Pennsylvania, questioned in a Quinnipiac University poll, said they disapproved of the job Fetterman is doing representing them in the Senate, with just a third approving. That's a stunning switch from last year when 80% of Pennsylvania Democrats approved of the job the senator was doing in Congress, with just 10% disapproving. But now 62% of Republicans questioned said they approve of the job Fetterman is doing, with just 21% disapproving. So the Democrats turning on him a little bit. We'll see if he stands strong. We've got a couple other things on the shutdown, running a tad bit late. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Drive into fall event at Chilson Wilcox Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Buy a new in-stock 2025 Ram 1500 Bighorn and save over $10,000. Or, attention business owners, buy a new Ram 2500 Tradesman Crew Cab and save over $11,000. Tailgate season is back. Hurry, these offers won't last. Drive into fall event. Don't miss out on these incredible offers. Chilson Wilcox Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Selling cars a different way, the right way.
Livingston, Big Fox News, Southern Tier.
It's a season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my number one goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you again for joining us this morning. Farmer John, always good to hear from you. Thank you for wishing us a good morning. And we did mention, and I can't believe you're going to make me mention this I think this will be the 5th day in a row. We went from 0 to 5 days in a row. 0 throughout a whole career to 5 days in a row. Yes, we did mention Bad Bunny. And Bad Bunny will be at the halftime show, and we've talked about the criticism there. So thank you. I know you said not for air, but why not get 5 days in a row? I think that will probably be the streak, but we'll see. The New York Post editorial board says that Democrats are shutting the government down because they think it's not going bankrupt fast enough. I thought that was an interesting way to put it, because keep in mind, you're talking about this continuing resolution only funding the government till November 21st. So a small, relatively small, especially in how slow Congress works, small window to get an actual budget deal done. So they see that opportunity to extend the funding for those days and say, you know what? Nope, we want to add $1 trillion, over $1 trillion in spending if you want us to keep the government open just until the 21st of November, right before Thanksgiving. So that's I think a fantastic way of putting it. They're just saying, well, maybe with the tariffs and things, we're actually looking at making some changes. And they're saying, no, we want to go bankrupt faster. Republicans are trying to restore sanity by 1, slowing Medicaid's growth, 2, declining to renew the huge subsidies that cover up Obamacare's failures, and 3, stopping the use of federal funds to cover illegal immigrants' health care. Democrats are trying to blackmail the GOP into surrendering on all 3 counts, abandoning all efforts to stop the debt from spiraling out of control, simply to fund the government through November. That's what this shutdown is all about. And David Harsani says, blame the government shutdown on Obamacare, the ruinous law that broke American politics. And he has a point there of, if you think about the history of what this has done to our country with Obamacare. Now Democrats have shut the government down to try and force Republicans to help prop up this disastrous law. The GOP would be nuts to help them. We got a couple quick things we're going to wrap up on. I see some comments coming in. Get your last minute comments in, please, so we can read them before the end of the program. I hate to kind of end the program on this, but there are a couple things that I think you have to see quickly. Nothing too major on the New York front. I see that Giuliani's allies have actually turned on Sliwa, according to Fox News, and they're backing Cuomo. This is Giuliani's aides and allies that they see that probably, I know some will disagree with me, but the common refrain is that Cuomo is somehow the only one that can beat Mamdani, and it seems as if some Giuliani allies believe the same, and that some, according to Gothamist, Sliwa's voters are stuck in a pickle as they don't see a path to victory for him, and they don't want to vote for Cuomo. But Douglas Murray says, conservatives, be careful about wishing for a Zohran Mamdani win. And you've seen some of that, and we've had a couple different pieces of this vein saying the same thing about AOC. Be careful what you wish for, because the idea is back in 2016, there was a lot of laughter about Trump getting in. I remember people saying that's the best thing that could happen to Hillary Clinton. All these people very confident and cocky in what they're saying, that, yeah, thank you for giving us the win, because people took them lightly. This is saying don't take this rise of socialism lightly. You don't know what direction it's headed. So we got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Get ready to wrap things up on the Friday edition.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Time to get clean!
Yes, but that liquid detergent leaves you covered in harsh chemical residue. Not Earth Breeze. Just one sheet gives you a powerful clean.
Switch now at earthbreeze.com.
Big Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
If you are one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Speaking of Hesselson's, with their tent sale going on, Mark mentions, didn't make it to Hesselson's tent sale yesterday, going today. Have a great day. Well, let us know how it goes, Mark. I went yesterday. It was fantastic. Great crowds, a lot of great merchandise. I bought so many things, which is great. I'm ready for deer season. I'm ready for even casual wear, so I appreciate you writing in, Mark. You have to let us know how it goes. Anybody that goes in, let us know how much fun you had and just how many great deals you got. Okay, comment from different viewers. Let's see. Pelosi's 85 years old. Yes, she is. Right. I assume she was right around there. Pelosi is also already declared that she's running for re-election. Remember, she does it as soon as the election's over because she's a shoo-in in her district, that she already declared that she's running for 2 years more. So there you go. Comment from a different viewer. Yesterday you mentioned Jane Fonda getting active once again. She says that her group wants to elect tougher Democrats. This will be fun to watch. It will be tough for her to find crazier Democrats than what we already have. Jane Fonda being the leader of a party. I don't know if that's, well, that's the direction they chose. Trump had a very morbid answer. I don't know if you saw this about the 2026 midterm elections. He was asked if he had any big plans for the midterms. He said, I have big plans. I want to survive. And then he laughed. So you look at what's going on, it's crazy. You know, the rhetoric that these crazy Democrats are using is very dangerous. They made politics very dangerous. And we're going to be very happy with the job we're going to do. And that's in reference to, of course, the 2 assassination attempts on his life and, of course, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We had at the University of Virginia, students are holding a, quote, anti-fascist flag burning. That's an interesting party to hold, an anti-fascist flag burning event to protest Trump's order. An anti-fascist student says a group will hold an anti-fascist tailgate party. Boy, that's going to be a blast of a tailgate party. I'm sure those people are fun people to hang with, at the University of Virginia campus Friday evening, where participants will burn American flags in response to a recent executive order by President Trump. Boy, that's wouldn't they have done that earlier? That executive order was quite a while ago, at least in the Trump media cycle. According to a flyer advertising the event, the demonstration is scheduled for 6 at 6:30. You'll burn the flag on a grill and then have hot dogs and burning flags. Okay. According to the Daily Mail, frenzied conservatives are investing millions in panic rooms, bulletproof cars, and robot guards triggered by the Charlie Kirk assassination. You can't blame some of these, especially major figures, for seeing the real security risks. Houses of worship tighten security amid rising number of attacks, according to the Washington Post. The list goes on and on, but we are out of time for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you for a great week, everyone. We had a lot of fun, a lot of great guests. You can find those interviews up on our YouTube page or at WYDCTV.com. Sheriff Allard, Richard Thomas from the Waltons, but he's going to be on Mark Twain tonight at the Clemens Center. We talked wine glass. That'll be up a little bit later on. The Alzheimer's Walk. My goodness. And starting on Monday, we're going to hear from the Rotary about Oktoberfest. So make sure you join us every weekday morning starting at 6 for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV. Big Fox. We'll see you bright and early on Monday. Look forward to it already.
Hot tubs, hot tubs, hot tubs. In addition to Hesselsen's annual tent sale this week, Hesselsen's will be slashing thousands of dollars off hundreds of hot tubs and swim spas. Hesselsen's needs to liquidate over $500,000 of inventory at unheard of unbelievable prices. But for 4 days only, Thursday through Sunday. And Hesselsen's will be offering 0% interest-free financing options for up to 5 full years. Plus, free cover, free chemicals, free steps, and free Bluetooth music. Don't miss this opportunity to start making every day better during Hesselsen's hot tub sale this Thursday through Sunday. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.